As the king and queen leave the thrones and head for the exit of Westminster Abbey of the coronation ceremony, you'll see that everyone bows and curtsies to the king, and no one moves a limb, a muscle, when Camilla passes.
King Charles had expected Balmoral to become a refuge from months of pressure, public scrutiny, and private strain. Instead, a single cream envelope returned to his desk transformed the summer gathering into something darker. Camilla had not delayed her answer. She had refused the invitation completely. When Charles read her handwritten message, the king did not speak, summon an aide, or defend her decision. He simply stared at the page, as though the marriage itself had suddenly become unfamiliar. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Charles had carefully arranged the private gathering, inviting Camilla, Prince William, Catherine, Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and Sophie to join him without cameras, ceremonies, or public duties. Balmoral Castle, the monarch's private Scottish residence, was more than a royal property. It carried memories of childhood, family loyalty, and the late Queen Elizabeth II, making this invitation feel personal. He had wanted the estate to offer peace. Instead, it became the place where a hidden fracture could no longer be ignored. The refusal lay before him in Camilla's own handwriting. She stated plainly that she would not attend under the conditions he had created. Those words changed everything. The queen consort had not requested another date, suggested a compromise, or asked for a private discussion. She had drawn a line, and the firmness of it left him shaken. Charles placed the page flat against the desk, then asked his equerry, the royal officer responsible for assisting the sovereign, to leave the room. Camilla understood what her absence would mean. An empty chair beside the king would not look like a scheduling problem. It would expose tension inside a marriage the monarchy depended upon to appear steady. She knew William and Catherine would notice. Anne would question it, and Edward and Sophie would feel trapped between loyalty and silence. Yet she refused to pretend that the gathering was harmless. The phrase, "under the conditions," carried the threat. Charles had attached an expectation to Balmoral, something Camilla believed would reduce her authority and force her to accept humiliation in front of the family. He read the sentence again, searching for softness that was not there. Before the household could contain the news, Princess Anne received a documented copy through the king's private office. She read it once, closed the folder, and immediately understood what had driven Camilla to say no. Yet the meaning of Camilla's rejection could not be understood through the letter alone, because behind that unopened Balmoral door stood three people with very different fears, and none of them was prepared to surrender. The refusal struck three separate wounds. For Charles, it felt like rejection at the moment he needed loyalty most. For Camilla, the invitation represented a demand disguised as reconciliation. For William, it threatened to pull the monarchy back into the kind of domestic conflict he had spent his entire life trying to escape. Each understood Balmoral differently, but all three knew the same truth. Once the family assembled without the queen, silence would become an accusation. Charles had imagined the gathering as a chance to restore order after months of clashing schedules, competing household priorities, and quiet disagreements over who should shape the monarchy's next chapter. The crown, meaning the institution and authority surrounding the sovereign, needed its senior members to appear united. He believed Balmoral could give them privacy, allowing difficult decisions to be made away from cameras and public pressure. Yet without Camilla beside him, that plan risked looking less like unity and more like punishment. The king carried that fear into a private conversation with Princess Anne. He admitted through a documented account prepared by his private office that Camilla had rejected more than an invitation. She had rejected his attempt to protect them both from a deeper conflict. Anne listened without interrupting, but she understood that her brother was speaking as a wounded husband, not merely as the monarch. Charles had expected resistance. He had not expected complete withdrawal. Camilla sat alone at Ray Mill House after sending the letter. She removed her reading glasses, pressed her fingers against her eyes, and told a trusted aide, during a recorded private conversation, that attending would have forced her to accept blame she did not believe belonged to her. Balmoral carried years of royal judgment for the queen consort. She remembered entering a family shaped by old loyalties and public suspicion, and she refused to return only to have her authority questioned before the same people whose acceptance she had fought to earn. William received the news while reviewing summer schedules with Catherine. He stopped halfway through a sentence, closed the folder, and asked whether his father intended to continue without Camilla. The prince already knew the gathering would include a private discussion about her influence over appointments, access, and family representation. Those decisions mattered because they determined who could enter royal spaces, shape official plans, and speak with the authority of the household. Catherine saw the trap immediately. Camilla could attend and submit to a discussion about reducing her influence, or refuse and appear responsible for dividing the family. Neither choice offered dignity. William's concern deepened when she revealed that the anger had begun weeks earlier at Windsor, where one sentence from Charles had changed the meaning of everything. The refusal may have arrived at Balmoral in an envelope, but its true beginning lay inside a closed Windsor reception room, where one carefully chosen sentence had turned private resentment into a point of no return. Weeks before the Balmoral invitation was rejected, a private reception at Windsor Castle ended with a sentence no one in the room could forget. The evening had been arranged to settle questions of summer duties and household authority. Instead, Charles made a decision in front of William, Anne, and Camilla that left the Queen visibly humiliated. She did not raise her voice. She did not argue. But when she stood and pushed back her chair, everyone understood that something irreversible had just happened. Charles had called the meeting after growing disagreements over which members of Camilla's extended family could attend private royal events, and how much influence her household should carry over joint engagements. A royal household is the team of aides and officials who organize duties, access, schedules, and personal arrangements for a senior royal. The king feared that family loyalty was becoming confused with constitutional responsibility, meaning the duty to protect the monarchy above private relationships. William and Princess Anne had both urged him in recorded private conversations to draw clearer boundaries before resentment spread further. The decision came without warning. Charles told Camilla that she would no longer hold the final word over guest access, household appointments, or family representation at Balmoral gatherings. He then asked William and Anne to oversee the new system. The Queen stared at her husband and asked whether everything had been decided before she entered the room. When he hesitated, even briefly, she understood the truth. This was not a discussion. It was an announcement. Camilla's hand tightened around the arm of her chair. Anne noticed the movement, but remained silent, while William avoided looking directly at either of them. In a documented account later shared with a trusted court official, the Princess Royal admitted that the anger in the room was not simply about authority. The humiliation came from being corrected before the future king, as though Camilla had become a problem the family needed to manage. Charles tried to soften the blow. He insisted that the restrictions were temporary and designed only to protect the summer gathering from further tension. The Queen answered that temporary limits inside the royal family often hardened into permanent traditions. Her voice remained controlled, but the warning was unmistakable. Camilla placed her untouched glass on the table and moved her chair back with deliberate calm. She looked directly at Charles and said, "Do not call submission reconciliation." Then she warned him never to invite her to Balmoral, simply so the family could watch her accept a diminished position. She walked out without allowing an aide to follow. The king convinced himself that the words had been spoken in anger. Weeks later, however, the invitation arrived with every restriction unchanged. Camilla read it as proof that he had ignored her warning, and she prepared to confront him directly. The Windsor wound had never healed, and when Charles finally demanded a private conversation about her refusal, husband and wife entered the room, carrying two completely different versions of betrayal. Charles did not permit aides, secretaries, or courtiers to enter the room. When Camilla arrived at Clarence's house, he was waiting beside the fireplace with her refusal letter in his hand. There were no formal greetings, no polite questions about the journey. He asked why she had chosen to embarrass him before his own family. Camilla looked at the envelope then at the king, and answered with words that cut through every remaining layer of royal restraint. Charles had requested the meeting after 2 telephone calls went unanswered. The Queen agreed only after receiving his written promise that no staff member would enter and that nothing said between them would be passed to the royal household, the team of officials who managed their schedules, duties, and private arrangements. The room carried its own painful history. Years earlier, they had sat there planning how she would slowly take on greater responsibility beside him. Now the same space held a letter that threatened everything they had built. The king raised the envelope and accused Camilla of turning a private family gathering into an act of open defiance. She did not retreat. "You invited me to watch you replace me, and you expected gratitude." Charles insisted that William and Princess Anne were not replacing her. He said they were protecting the monarchy from blurred boundaries between personal loyalty and royal duty. The Queen answered that he had hidden behind the crown, the authority and institution surrounding the sovereign, because he lacked the courage to admit that he no longer trusted her judgment. His anger weakened. Hurt replaced it when she described Balmoral as a tribunal rather than a home, a place where relatives would watch her authority being reduced and expect her to smile. He lowered the letter and asked whether she understood what her absence would communicate to the country. Camilla understood perfectly. She also knew the gathering agenda included a formal discussion of her future influence. During their recorded private exchange, she revealed that someone inside the planning circle had sent her a copy. Secrecy had already collapsed. Charles demanded a name, but she refused. The identity mattered less, she said, than the fact that someone within his own household believed the arrangement was unfair. The king's voice hardened as he declared that Balmoral would proceed with or without her. Camilla opened her handbag, removed the full itinerary, placed it beside the refusal letter, and pushed both documents toward him. She had seen every planned discussion, every altered responsibility, and every decision made before she had been given a chance to speak. As she reached the door, Charles warned that the issue was larger than their marriage. The Queen paused and answered that this was exactly the problem, because another royal had quietly gained the power to determine what happened next. Camilla had challenged the king, but the true architecture of the Balmoral decision had been built elsewhere, by the family members Charles now trusted to guard the monarchy from its own private loyalties. The Balmoral dispute looked like a marital fracture, but beneath it lay a quiet transfer of influence. Charles still wore the crown and made the final decisions, yet William and Anne had become the voices he trusted when personal affection threatened institutional judgment. Camilla understood that shift before anyone publicly acknowledged it. Her refusal was not simply resistance to a gathering, it was resistance to a future in which decisions about her position could be made by a family council she no longer controlled. William's growing responsibilities had already drawn him deeper into questions of household, structure, public priorities, and the behavior expected from those closest to the sovereign. A family advisory arrangement meant a private group of senior royals trusted to guide decisions that affected the monarchy's internal life. The prince did not yet hold the throne, but Charles was quietly teaching him how power moved before it became visible. Anne carried a different burden. She guarded precedent, the established rules and customs that protected royal duty from personal pressure. The princess had no desire to humiliate Camilla, yet she believed relatives, friendships, and private loyalties could not be allowed to control access to the king. After the confrontation, she met Charles in the garden at Highgrove. He walked several steps without speaking, then asked whether he had been cruel. Anne answered that clarity often felt cruel when it arrived too late. The king admitted through their recorded private conversation that he feared losing Camilla's trust, but he feared leaving William a divided institution even more. His sister recognized the impossible choice. He was trying to protect the marriage that had sustained him while preparing the monarchy that would one day survive without him. William felt the same pressure from another direction. He privately asked Catherine whether withdrawing from the Balmoral discussions might reduce the tension. She told him that stepping back would not restore Camilla's dignity. It would only leave Charles alone with a conflict he had delayed until every decision felt like betrayal. Anne then disclosed what the Queen had already suspected. The new Balmoral structure had never been temporary. Charles had approved a permanent arrangement giving William greater authority over future private gatherings, guest access, and family representation. Camilla's refusal, therefore, challenged more than an invitation. It challenged the first practical sign that the monarchy had begun preparing for the future king's reign. After midnight, Charles sat alone with the revised Balmoral schedule. His pen paused above Camilla's name. For one final moment, affection resisted authority. Then the king drew a single line through her assigned place at the opening dinner. By morning, the altered schedule had reached every senior household, forcing William, Anne, Catherine, Edward, and Sophie to decide whether the Queen's absence should be challenged, concealed, or accepted. Once the Queen's name disappeared from the Balmoral plan, the conflict escaped the privacy of marriage and entered the machinery of the royal household, where silence could no longer prevent consequences. The first consequence was not a statement, cancellation, or public announcement. It was an empty place on a seating plan. Camilla's name vanished from the opening dinner, and the absence traveled through the royal households faster than any official explanation. Staff members lowered their voices. Schedules were revised. Family members began making cautious calls. By refusing Balmoral, the Queen had created a symbol more powerful than attendance. A vacant chair that appeared to accuse everyone surrounding it. Balmoral staff received instructions to continue every preparation while avoiding any written explanation for her absence. The Queen's rooms remained reserved, but her engagements and dinner placement disappeared from the revised program. A royal program is the official schedule setting out where each family member will be, what role they will perform, and how events will unfold. Keeping her rooms ready while removing her name created a painful contradiction. Charles had accepted the refusal on paper, yet part of him still expected Camilla to arrive. The king rejected every suggestion that the gathering should be postponed. Cancellation, he argued during a recorded planning call, would turn a private disagreement into an institutional retreat and show that the family could no longer meet without collapsing under its own tension. Sophie received the revised schedule at Bagshot Park and read it twice before calling Prince Edward. She told him the gathering would feel like a judgment even if no one spoke Camilla's name. Edward worried that attending could appear disloyal to the Queen, while refusing would deepen his brother's humiliation. The trusted confidant insisted that their presence might prevent resentment from becoming open hostility. Neither felt comfortable, but both understood that absence would create another wound. Camilla faced the change at Ray Mill House when her private secretary handed her the amended document. She paused over the blank space where her role had been listed, folded the page, and said, "So he has decided how the story ends." Yet the same secretary then revealed through a documented household note that Charles had ordered her Balmoral rooms kept exactly as planned. Fresh linens, personal belongings, and every private arrangement remained untouched. The gesture confused her, because it suggested the king still hoped for a private return, even while allowing the family to prepare without her. William moved quickly to stop the fracture from becoming a briefing war. He instructed his team that no one should describe Camilla's refusal as disloyalty or weakness. The prince's intervention protected her from immediate attack, but it also raised a dangerous question. Was he defending the Queen, his father, or the future stability of his own reign? During the final planning call, an aide referred to the Queen's former place at dinner. Charles interrupted sharply and ordered that it be called the unoccupied place, and nothing else. The stalemate finally shifted when Catherine contacted Camilla directly and requested a meeting with no Charles, William, Anne, or palace advisor present. The men had argued over authority, and the households had reorganized the summer, but the turning point would come through two women speaking without titles, agendas, or witnesses between them. Catherine did not arrive carrying a message from Charles, and she refused to present herself as William's representative. She met Camilla privately because she understood what it meant to enter a royal family, already shaped by history, expectation, and comparison. There were no advisors in the room, and no documents on the table. For the first time since the invitation was rejected, the conflict was discussed not as a constitutional problem, but as the pain of a woman who believed her place had become conditional. Catherine had requested the meeting after realizing that every formal conversation only hardened Camilla's position. Another approach from the royal household, the team of officials managing senior family duties and private arrangements, would feel like pressure rather than peace. The Queen agreed because the princess had not participated in the Windsor decision and had never publicly challenged her authority. Even so, both women understood that William's shadow remained close to the conversation. Catherine chose her words carefully. She told Camilla that refusing Balmoral had made her pain visible, but it had also allowed staff, relatives, and eventually the public to decide what that pain meant. The Queen answered that attendance would have demanded something worse. She would have been expected to smile while pretending she had not been wounded. Silence followed, but it was no longer hostile. Camilla then admitted through their recorded private conversation that she feared being slowly erased from the monarchy she had spent years supporting. She had survived public rejection, family suspicion, and endless comparison, only to discover that her place could still be reduced by a decision made without her. Catherine replied that authority could change without affection disappearing, yet she did not excuse Charles. The king had handled the change badly, and refusing to admit that had deepened the damage. Camilla's composure finally weakened. She revealed that she had expected her husband to defend her during the Windsor meeting, even if he ultimately kept the restrictions. His silence had hurt more than losing control of guest lists or appointments. The restriction limited her power. His silence made her feel alone. Catherine then disclosed that Charles had kept the Queen's rooms at Balmoral untouched, and ordered fresh flowers placed there every morning. The monarch had accepted the refusal administratively, meaning within the official plans, but not emotionally. He had removed her from the schedule while preserving every sign that he still hoped she would do. Come, Catherine offered a compromise. Camilla would not attend the full gathering or face council discussions, the private meetings where senior royals considered family decisions. She could arrive only for the final evening, without a staged entrance or any demand that she accept the new arrangement publicly. The Queen opened a drawer, unfolded the revised Balmoral schedule, and circled the final dinner with a pencil. She stopped before promising anything. Hours later, Charles received 6 words: "Keep the final evening free for me." Camilla had not surrendered, and Charles had not reversed his decision. Yet one private sentence had transformed refusal into possibility. Just as the outside world discovered the gathering she had rejected, the palace had tried to contain the dispute through silence, but silence created its own headline. When the revised Balmoral schedule reached the press, Camilla's missing name became a national spectacle. Broadcasters debated whether the Queen had been excluded or had walked away. Newspapers treated the empty place as evidence of a royal fracture. Yet while Britain argued over betrayal, Charles knew something the public did not. Camilla had already chosen to return on her own terms. The palace issued a brief statement describing her absence from the opening days as a private, scheduling matter. That explanation failed immediately because no competing engagement had been announced. A palace statement is an official message released on behalf of the royal household to explain events without exposing private details. This one explained almost nothing, and the silence surrounding it only made the mystery feel larger. Commentators linked the absence to the growing authority of William and Princess Anne. They framed Balmoral as a test of who now controlled the royal family's private future: the king beside his wife, or the future monarch supported by the family's strongest defender of tradition. One national newspaper captured the public mood with a stark front page showing Balmoral, long dining table, and a single unoccupied chair beneath the headline, "The Queen Who Said No." Copies were held outside Buckingham Palace as television crews delivered live reports, and who repeated the question the palace refused to answer. Had Camilla been pushed aside, or had she rejected Charles before he could diminish her? A small crowd gathered near the palace gates. Some defended the Queen for refusing humiliation, while others accused her of abandoning the king during a difficult period for the monarchy. The argument grew because both sides saw the empty chair differently. To one group, it represented dignity. To the other, it represented desertion. William watched the broadcast at Balmoral with Catherine. When a commentator described the gathering as his victory over Camilla, the prince muted the television and said that no family wound should ever be mistaken for triumph. Catherine understood his anger. He had gained authority, but the cost was being portrayed as the man who had driven the queen away. Charles reacted more sharply. He wanted a stronger denial issued immediately, but Anne warned during a recorded family discussion that an emotional response would expose more than it concealed. The monarch's anger could not erase the fact that Camilla had refused him. Her office remained silent even when offered the chance to correct the story, protecting the secrecy of her planned arrival. At the first family dinner, Charles looked at the unoccupied chair beside him, touched the place card once, turned it face down, and continued without explanation. The following evening, as the public debate reached its peak, a car approached Balmoral, carrying the one person whose arrival could transform that empty place into a final test of forgiveness. The country had already delivered its judgment, but inside Balmoral, Charles and Camilla were about to decide whether the most important verdict belonged to the crown, the public, or the two people who had wounded each other. Camilla arrived after the formal discussions had ended. There was no procession, no waiting line of relatives, and no palace photographer to capture the moment. Charles met her inside the entrance hall alone. For several seconds, neither moved. The king had preserved his decision, and the queen had preserved her dignity, but both now understood the cost of victory. Balmoral would not erase what had happened. It would reveal whether their marriage could survive the truth. Camilla had come only for the final evening, honoring Catherine's proposed compromise, without accepting the full gathering or reversing what had been decided at Windsor. The new advisory structure, a permanent arrangement giving selected senior royals greater influence over private family decisions, remained intact. Her arrival restored neither the authority she had lost nor the balance they once knew. It offered something harder, a chance to speak without pretending. Charles had instructed William, Anne, Catherine, Edward, and Sophie not to treat the moment as a ceremonial reconciliation. He asked them to remain away until dinner, allowing husband and wife to face each other without applause, witnesses, or pressure to perform unity. Inside the private sitting room, the monarch finally admitted what pride had kept buried. He apologized for announcing the Windsor restrictions in front of William and his sister. During their recorded private conversation, he confessed that he had confused decisiveness with courage and had avoided speaking honestly because he feared her reaction. Camilla accepted the apology, but she refused to erase the damage. She told him the decision had changed their marriage because trust could not survive when one partner learned the truth alongside everyone else. The queen could support the crown, meaning the institution and duties surrounding the sovereign, without surrendering her right to be treated as his partner. Charles acknowledged that the limits on household authority would remain, yet he promised that no future decision affecting her personally would ever again be presented as a completed fact. Camilla agreed to remain beside him publicly and privately, not because she had lost, but because he had finally separated royal boundaries from personal humiliation. At dinner, William rose when she entered and quietly pulled out the chair beside Charles. The prince offered no speech, but his gesture confirmed that her place within the family remained recognized. Anne understood that the old balance had not returned. A more honest one had replaced it. William's future authority was secure. Camilla's dignity had been heard, and Charles could no longer use affection to avoid difficult truths. The refusal had forced the monarchy to stop pretending that unity required silence. The crown survived because resentment was confronted, limits were accepted, and pain was no longer hidden behind duty. Camilla's empty chair did not become proof of permanent separation. It became the symbol of a marriage forced to change. Charles remained king. William emerged with greater responsibility, and she returned as a queen whose boundaries could no longer be ignored. And when Charles and Camilla left the table together, Balmoral held no unanswered question. The invitation had been refused, the wound had been confronted, and the monarchy moved forward with a unity built not on appearances, but on truth. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.